Hey guys, it's Michael here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our backyard. Now in this video I want to talk about what you see here in the background, the 6-person Thermowood Panorama / Barrel Sauna from Redwood Outdoors. We bought this sauna in January of this year, so we've had it for a couple of months, and so I figured it's time for a review to tell you everything about it and to tell you more about how we like it, and then a little bit also how it compares to the infrared sauna we have right next to it. Now before we get started, I want to mention that this video and the description might contain affiliated links, and if you use those links I might get a commission. That doesn't change my editorial integrity, but it helps support this channel and make this channel happen. Speaking of supporting this channel, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, make sure you click on the little alert button so you get notified when I publish more videos like this. Now, as I mentioned in the intro briefly, we already have an infrared sauna, and so why get a steam sauna as well? And there are a couple of reasons. First of all, I always wanted to have a traditional steam sauna because that's what I grew up with. And the other reason is that I really wanted to compare infrared versus steam. There is a lot of discussions between those two types of saunas, which provide more benefits, which is better, etc. And I'm going to go into more details in an upcoming video, so stay tuned. But I'm going to just give you a brief side-by-side comparison, and that was really the main reason why we got the steam sauna, to find out what is the difference, what is better for us, and how can we work both in combination to reap the most benefits. The reason why we went with Redwood Outdoors is because we were looking for a sauna brand that uses non-toxic, high-quality materials, that makes good-looking saunas, and that offers a variety of options, so we can pick the one that fits right for us, that fits in our backyard and that fits our requirements. Speaking of which, the reasons why we picked this particular model, it's a 6-person sauna, it's a barrel design rather than a regular cabin, and we went with an electrical heater versus a wood stove, and there were a couple of reasons for that. One is we wanted to get a bigger sauna than we already had. We have a 2-person infrared sauna, and so we wanted to get something bigger that we could potentially enjoy with friends and family. The reason why we went with a barrel is because I really like how a barrel looks. In addition to that, it has a really nice panorama window on the back of the sauna, so we are unfortunately facing the brick wall, but the nice big glass door allows us to get a view over the entire backyard. So that combination, having the ability to maybe even move it and get a different view and have a nice big window, was one of the reasons why we went with the Panorama sauna rather than one that has, just a regular wood paneling on the back. The reason why we went with an electrical heater versus a wood stove was just, practical reasons. I want to be able to turn it on and know that the oven on the sauna is gonna be hot in a little bit without having to worry about, feeding it wood and staying there and making sure there is enough wood in the oven to create the proper amount of heat in the sauna. But we intentionally decided not to go with the fancier electrical oven that Redwood Outdoors offers that has Wi-Fi, because I wanted to get a sauna that is as free from EMFs as possible. I wanted to get like a serene kind of environment where I'm not distracted or polluted by Wi-Fi and other radiation that I don't really need. And so that led us to this particular model. It's a 6-person barrel sauna, the Panorama sauna, with the porch in front. And to be quite honest, in the beginning, we didn't want to get the porch because I'm like, we don't need the porch. We, get into the sauna. Once we get out, we take a shower and, we are done. Unfortunately, the non-porch model was sold out, and so we went with the porch, and in hindsight, I'm glad that we did, because I use it all the time. Once I get out of the sauna, I sit on the porch to relax, to cool down for a couple of minutes, and it's really nice instead of having to get up and, get right inside and take a shower. So let's talk about the assembly, the sauna assembly and the setup. Because this sauna came in a huge wooden crate, about 800 pounds heavy, and it was delivered curbside. So a truck came, delivered a huge box on a pallet at the street level. So we had to actually use our lawn tractor with the trailer to get all the pieces down into the backyard and start assembling it. The good news is, once we had everything carried down, it wasn't really a big deal. It took a couple of hours to get everything down. The assembly was fairly straightforward. You don't need a lot of woodworking skills. You don't need a lot of tools. You need a hammer, a mallet, And that was pretty much it. So putting everything together took a couple of hours, but we spread it out over a couple of days. It was basically just, putting pieces together, kind of like a piece of Lego, if you will. Everything was nicely labeled and the documentation was fairly good. So all we had to do is follow it, put the pieces together, use a couple of nails in strategic places, and that was pretty much it. But you need 2 people to assemble it, because there are some pieces that are quite heavy, like the back glass assembly, the door assembly, etc. So you really want to be sure you have that secure and don't accidentally drop it and then damage something. So my wife and I did most of the heavy lifting, and then we got help from the kids to get like the individual wood pieces so we could put everything nicely together. Again, took a couple of hours, spread out over the course of a few days, and that was pretty much it. The only thing that took a little bit extra time was the roof shingles. We decided to get those as an upgrade to help with water runoff and to protect the wood a little bit more, but that was pretty much it. Nothing to worry about. The one thing that I want to point out that you need to make sure is, if you get the electrical heater, is to get an electrician out to put in a 50 amp dedicated circuit with, in our case, we actually had to get an outdoor breaker box to meet code requirements. So that was something I didn't really think about until I wanted to connect the heater, and I realized there is no power plug because the heater is hardwired. So you need to get an electrician out and wire it into your house. And we required a 50 amp breaker for the 9 kilowatt heater that we chose. That's the most powerful heater they have. They have different options. I think they go from 5 or 6 kilowatts up all the way to 9. We decided to go with the most powerful one, which draws the most power, but it also heats up the quickest and produces enough heat. And so that's something you want to consider, also in terms of where you place the sauna, so you can make sure you get a dedicated circuit to the spot where you want to put your sauna. The other thing I want to talk about is the quality of materials and the type of material. So there are 2 options that Redwood Outdoors offers for its outdoor saunas, and that's cedar and Thermowood. Cedar is obviously an incredibly nice choice. It's also slightly more expensive. It smells great and it's naturally rot resistant. So great wood for outdoors. That means you don't have to stain it. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. We went with Thermowood, which is slightly less expensive, and Thermowood is basically wood that's been treated with steam and with heat. So it's also very much natural, but it's a little bit more rot and fungi resistant, and it tends to warp less, especially as temperatures change and humidity level change. So we went with Thermowood. Smells good too, but you can pick between those 2, and there isn't really a huge difference in terms of pricing and also in terms of the quality that you get. Both are great types of wood. One thing that was important to us is that there is nothing toxic, no VOCs and stuff, no stains, no coatings, nothing like that, because obviously when you're in the sauna and you sweat and your pores are open, the last thing that you want is anything toxic that might make it into your body, and then you have you kind of mitigate in a negative way some of the health benefits that a sauna provides. So that's one of the reasons why, again, we went with Redwood Outdoors. They use very clean materials, natural materials, and great quality that should last for many years to come. In terms of upgrades, we did get a couple of upgrades. I already mentioned the roof shingles to protect the roofing and to help with water runoff. I installed them myself. I'm not a roofer by any means, but it was fairly straightforward. All I had to get is a couple of roofing nails, and that was pretty much it. We also got the flat flooring insert that makes it a little bit easier to walk inside, because otherwise the floor would be curved along the shape of the barrel, obviously. So that's really nice. It also provides a nice foundation for the heater, especially if you don't want to go with a wall mounted heater. That's an option as well. We also got the reclining chair that we haven't installed yet, to be quite honest, so I can't tell you how well it works or it doesn't, because we don't use it right now. And then the porch I mentioned before, which in hindsight was a great idea to get because we use it all the time. Next, let's talk about heating performance. Obviously, one of the most important aspects of a sauna is how hot it gets, especially if it's a steam or wet sauna, traditional Finnish style sauna. And the 9 kilowatt oven or heater that we use in the sauna heats the air, the ambient air, up to about 215 degrees Fahrenheit or so. So it gets fairly hot, certainly hot enough to reap all the benefits of sauna bathing. Now, obviously, the thermometer that we have, I've mounted, it's right above or right about eye level. The lower you go down, the less heat you get because heat naturally rises. But even at chest level, we get about 180 degrees or so, and the sauna heats up in about 45 minutes. Usually I let it heat up for at least half an hour. 45 minutes appears to be the sweet spot, but if you want to get it as hot as you possibly can, then you want to let it heat up for about an hour. But even at 45 minutes, when I get in, the air temperature is above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to get all of the benefits. And then obviously once you start pouring water over the sauna rocks that are inside of the oven that we have, that Cylindro, it's called, from Harvia, is the brand, it's a Finnish brand, holds about 160 pounds worth of sauna rocks. And so that's a lot of surface area that causes the water that you pour over it to evaporate and then increase the humidity by about 30% or so, and also increase the perceived heat. So you feel that hot steam on your skin, and it feels incredibly hot. So hot actually that sometimes I really have to get my head down and rub my ears because it gets really hot. But the bottom line is the sauna gets definitely hot enough. I can tell how hot the sauna would get with a lesser heater. So if you were to get, go with a 6 kilowatt oven, for example, I don't know if it would get quite as hot, but the 9 kilowatt heater that we have here gets plenty hot and it heats up fairly quickly, and I really like that. Let's talk about pricing. So Redwood Outdoors has different types and styles of outdoor and indoor saunas. They have the classic cabins in different shapes and forms. They have the barrel design, obviously, which is the one that we have. But on average, you can expect to pay somewhere between $5,000 to $8,000 for a sauna. Ours, with all the upgrades, cost about $8,500 and something. So just shy of $8,600, which is a lot of money. But considering the quality that you get from Redwood Outdoors, I think it's worth it, especially because I expect that sauna to last for a very long time. Now the good news is I have a discount code for you. It's MK250. I'm gonna mention it down below in the description, and that gets you $250 off of any purchase over, I think it's $3,500 or so is the limit. I'm gonna mention the details all below in the description. You can check that out. And Redwood Outdoors also offers monthly payments. So if you qualify, you can pay monthly instead of one lump sum. That might make it a little bit easier to pay for a sauna like this. So let's talk about the pros and cons to wrap it up. Pro clearly is high quality materials, non-toxic materials that I really like. They look slick, those saunas. I really like them, regardless of if you go for a cabin or this barrel sauna. They look really good in our backyard, and I'm sure they would look good in your backyard as well. They're easy to assemble. You can do it together with your partner. I would say you need 2 people to assemble a sauna, just because there is some heavy lifting involved and you want to make sure you don't break anything. Another pro of those saunas is that they get really hot and fairly quickly as well. So you really get the full Scandinavian Finnish style sauna experience out of one of those saunas. On the con side, they are fairly pricey, unfortunately. And the 4-person sauna we have here, because we chose the Cylindro heater, which is floor mounted instead of wall mounted, really reduces the practical space to about 4 people, because it's a 6-person sauna, but 2 people would have to sit right in front of that heater, more or less with the heater between their legs. And the heater does get fairly hot for obvious reasons, so I wouldn't necessarily want to sit there. And so sizing wise, our 6-person sauna practically really is a 4-person sauna. Now, if you don't go with the panorama glass on the back and with wood on the back instead, you can get a wall mounted heater that moves it out of the way, and your 6-person sauna really is a 6-person sauna. In case you wonder, can you use a sauna like this indoors? Yes, you can, assuming you have proper ventilation. But Redwood Outdoors also sells indoor saunas with using fur as an option for wood that is slightly less expensive, because it doesn't have to be weather resistant like the Thermowood and the cedar is. And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments what I could have done better. Until next time.